Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Matea Rentia, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, I am super excited. We have Ben Tzeel. He is a registered dietitian, or we were talking before, diabetes maestro. And I was like, yes, I love this term. So the reason that I brought Ben on, because everybody listening, you know that I really don't bring a lot of people to interview on. Everyone that I bring on, I know in some capacity there was a reason. So Ben came into my world and I was looking at the information that he puts out in the world. And something that is really important to me, it's not just that people have credentials, but it's that they have gone through some type of lived experience, or they really, I'm getting chills as I say this, it's like that they really believe in the work that they're doing, that they're passionate about it, that there's a reason behind it, that they can deliver it in a way that's not dry, where we can actually take action on it. And so Ben, I'm going to let him tell his story, but has type 1 diabetes, is super passionate about this. And I just really believe in the message and what he's doing in the world. Ben, can we start out, if people don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself a little bit and how you help people?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful to be here. And that was probably the nicest intro anyone's ever done. So thank you so much. But I'm Ben Tzeel. I'm a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, strength coach. And I've had type 1 diabetes myself for, holy cow, 26 years, a little bit over that, which is wild. So I was 7, and it's been quite the journey to get to this point. But the biggest thing is diagnosed that young. It was always a constant. No, you can't have the cupcake at your birthday. No, you can't go play sports with your friends. No, you can't do this. And just fill in the blank, no. And it got really, really old after a while. And so eventually I said, you know what? I'm going to be that defiant little preteen or teenager. I'm going to figure all this stuff out on my own. And so eventually it became, okay, I'm going to go to this dietitian and they're going to tell me what I need to eat for playing sports and for doing stuff. And ultimately, they couldn't give me answers. No one could give me any answers. I'm like, hey, I want to become a baseball player. Here's an offensive lineman meal plan. Well, that's probably not going to work for me. So I started to take it upon myself to start experimenting, learning, fell in love with sports, fell in love with working out. And then I started to realize I got into college. Nutrition's the X factor for blood sugars and for performance. So why not dedicate my life in there? And eventually, why not just become the person, and that person's able to fill the void of all the questions I was never able to get answered as a kid. And so became a dietitian, thought I wanted to get a PhD, did all that with my dissertation. It was all diabetes focused, and then left, became a dietitian, and then said, let's become a diabetes educator and let's start to build a team that we can ultimately serve as many people as possible with diabetes to have the answers to those questions that they should be getting, but they never do.
Okay, I love that you bring this up. I love that not that you had the experience, but where you went to the dietitian and you totally got no help, because that was my experience. So in the past, when I was pregnant, I had gestational diabetes and I thought, okay, I'm a physician, but I don't know everything, right? Let me go to the dietitian. And I'm a vegetarian on top of that. She hands me a meat-heavy, carb-heavy plan. And I'm like, okay, hold on. We're talking about gestational diabetes. There's nothing in here that's adapted in any capacity. And I'm pretty sure we put it on the intake. So I was just really let down, and I had to do what you did, which I had to go buy books and go do my own research. I ended up finding a girl on YouTube that had made a few videos that was most helpful. And I was thinking, this is a real shame. So I love that you see the gaps, that athletes need different nutrition for this and everything like that. What do you tend to say to someone when people are coming to you, they're wanting to improve their blood sugar, like overall health, stuff like that? What do you see as the first initial challenge that they face, the most common thing?
I would say when people are diagnosed, whether it's type 1 or type 2, the first thing anybody ever tells them is carbs, 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 carbs. Pay attention. They'll spike your blood sugar. They're the worst thing or they're the best thing. And you have to watch them. But I think that the toughest thing is they get a really bad reputation. And for some people, it's great to have minimal carbs. But I think getting the carb stigma out of the way first and realizing if you want to have them, they're okay to have. There's ways to do it. If you don't want them, that's okay. There's ways to not have them and still thrive and live your life. But just not having this dreadful relationship with them. And then that kind of spills into just all of food in general. And I feel like having that just out of the way, out of the beginning, saying, hey, I'm cool with food. Food is energy. If I want this, I can have it. If I don't want it, I don't have to. Making peace with it early on is going to be so helpful.
Oh, I love what you're saying. Yeah. Because once you get like, this is off the table and I can't do this, I can't do that, it's a massive restriction, then you've never wanted it more. But that binge restrict cycle in action. So I love that you bring that up right out of the gate. And I find that when people are starting on this, though, that they're really overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. Let's play a scenario. Someone's coming into you. They maybe are freshly diagnosed, or maybe they even have pre-diabetes. So this can apply to anyone, insulin resistance. There's lots of versions of the same flavor, what we're talking about, just if someone's listening and they're not diabetic yet. Where do you tend to start with them so that they're not overwhelmed?
So to your point, I joke that getting diagnosed with diabetes, and again, doesn't matter what type, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. There's just so much information. You don't know what's going on. Your whole life that you've lived up to this point, which again, I was 7, but someone could be 37, right? You could be 57. Your whole life's completely overturned. So you have to figure out what you're doing. I always tell them, hey, let's slow down. You're going to get to where you need to go. It's going to take a little bit of time. But the biggest thing to bring awareness to out of the gate, I would say, is just what are you eating? Because a lot of times people, they don't think about what they're eating. They don't think about, oh, am I making a meal a certain way? What am I doing? So we'll just say, hey, there's apps you can do. You could write in a journal, but just write down your food for a few days, get an idea of what you're doing. And now that you're paying attention to carbs, if you use one of the apps, it'll start to tell you, here's how many carbs were in this meal that you just had. You just start to get a general idea of what you're doing, what protein's there. And then it makes it really easy for us as dietitians to say, hey, this is where you might be missing the protein, or you might be missing the veggie, or whatever it might be, and help them fill the gaps and help to understand, here's why your blood sugar does what it does.
Yeah, that's so helpful. I love that you bring that up. It's this whole nutrition audits that people gain some awareness. It's actually interesting how much we're on autopilot and we don't realize it. It's very human of us. So let's say that you're working with someone and they're tracking nutrition, stuff like that. And I assume they're also maybe writing down the blood sugars, what the correlations are with these things. If people have blood sugars that are running on the higher side, what are some of the first few tips that could help someone to bring it down?
Which I think is a great question, because to your point, one of the first things, and I'm grateful these days, is that continuous glucose monitors are as prevalent as they are, because like, I didn't have one for 14 years and I had to prick my finger every 2 hours and it was a blast. But beyond that, hopefully that's one of the first things they're given, type 1 or type 2. So because of that, ideally they have an idea, okay, my number's doing this, and you can start to see almost an instant response. I ate this, here's what my number did. And then looking with us or with whoever the dietitian might be, ideally if they're good, saying, hey, the food did this, here's what you had at that time, let's talk about what might be happening. But for high blood sugars, there's obviously many options, but one of them would be simply a little bit of lighter physical activity. Don't go out and run sprints, it might make your number higher. But walk a little bit is always a great option out of the gate. If you're on a medication, if you're on insulin, of course you can correct. If you're not on insulin, then walking might be a better move. Sometimes there's other nuances with respect to food that can be done, but a lot of times hydration is another thing people forget about. High blood sugars will just stay high if you're not hydrated at all. So those would be, I'd say, a couple of the big ones. Medication is always a way to do it. But again, it depends. If you're a type 2, it's going to be a little different than if you're type 1. Type 1, hey, I'm dialing up a unit or however much your ratio is. Boom, you're good.
Right. Oh, God, I love that you bring this up. So just simple things, hydration, walking. When you bring this up, I think people get really busy in life. At least this is something that I find with my patients. And it's not rocket science what we're telling them, but it's really hard to practically implement these things. So when you bring this up, I'm hoping that people hear you're not necessarily going to have to alter your whole life to have these things go in a better direction. Long term, what do you work on nutritionally? You were talking about the carbs, but then do you have any pair your foods in this way, or food ordering? Do you have any kind of like your greatest hits for what you like to tell people that helps with that?
Oh, I love that question. And I also will say, like, when people say, oh, eat this in this specific order, like, we try to not make it so restrictive where, again, you can have this, but you must eat it this way. It's going to drive people nuts and make them OCD. Ultimately, we look at a plate and we say, okay, is there a solid protein source? Is there ideally at least 25, 30 grams? That would be big, because that's going to help with blood sugar stability. It's going to help with muscle recovery, assuming there's workouts, which hopefully there are. That would be absolutely massive. Is there some sort of fiber source on this plate? Is it coming in the form of a veggie? Is it coming in the form of a whole grain or a quinoa or something? That would be ideal, again, to help the blood sugars not spike as high and to get things absorbed a little slower. And the fullness factor is nice. And then separately, is there a veggie or a fruit on the plate? Which you can't count the fiber as the veggie. You'd have to have 2 servings of veggies, and one can be the fiber and one's the veggie. You can't cheat the system like that. So
That's funny that you bring that up, because I think I've not gotten into that nuance. So that's actually interesting that you bring that up. I have always told people if you have at least 5 grams of fiber in that meal, you're doing pretty darn good. Is that true or not? Is that BS what I've been saying?
I don't think
No.
it's BS at all. Can we try to get people at least like 20 to 30 grams a day? It would be ideal. If you
Yes.
want to get more, good. Don't go nuts. There was once a person, I promise this was just wild to me. This person showed up, they were eating over 100 grams a day, and we had to tone it down a little bit for your
Were they just
intestines.
like exploding with abdominal pain? I just can't
At
even
times,
fathom.
what was wild was that then when we started lowering it, and this is obviously an aside, but as we started lowering the fiber intake, we got down to 70. They're like, I feel so different. I'm like, hopefully in a good way. But they were stopped up because they were eating less than, I'm like, your body got used to 100 grams. It's so wild. So wild. I know you appreciate this as
No, I do appreciate this. This is the nerding out moment because most patients, when they come into my clinic, I have them do a nutrition log. Just like a few days. I don't do calorie counting, but I'm trying to figure out what protein, fiber, things like that. Most of them are anywhere from 10 to 15 grams a day. So most people we have to up. But what you're talking about, I think the highest I've ever seen someone have is like 50 grams. So for you to say 100, I'm just, oh my God, I really feel for them. They must have.
that was a one-time thing. Like most people, to your point, if they're over 20, I'm like, yay, this is great. But to get back to the original question, if you've got over 5 grams, you're doing solid. And for our purposes, and while we're on the topic, a lot of people say, oh, do you count net carbs? Do you subtract it? Do you
Yes.
subtract to a certain
I want to know
rules?
that.
To me, it feels natural to talk about it here. My least favorite thing is when people say, well, if it's 5 grams or more, you should subtract it. But if not, don't. I'm like, well, so if you have four, it doesn't count. That's stupid. So to me, I'm like, sorry for being very crass, but either subtract it or don't. Just be consistent. That's my thing. I don't
Totally.
care what you do. I prefer subtraction, but if someone doesn't want to, by all means. The only exception is when you get some of those keto friendly manufactured types of foods. Some of those
Yeah.
fibers are super sketchy and can actually raise your blood sugar. So
Interesting. So we don't have to call out brands, but is there a name for what we should be looking for what maybe would fit in that category?
biggest perpetrator is isomaltooligosaccharides, which is a mouthful, but IMOs. I don't even remember what the brand was, but this was years ago. I remember I got a protein bar and I used to love them. It wasn't Quest, so shout out Quest. I do love you. But it was one of the other ones, and they had them in there. And I used to use them to treat lows because I would go to 60, but it would spike me so fast.
That's so funny. Yeah, because I think the marketing is intense out there because they could say whatever they want on these products. It's very unregulated when they're using the words like natural. And to your point, whenever it says keto on it, I'm like, okay, who cares? What's the ratio of this? Is it actually high protein? It's like when the Atkins craze was big. And I remember one time I saw one of their protein bars, I'm saying in quote marks, had 3 grams of protein. And I was like, I don't know that we're going to call that a high protein bar. Like, that's not
No.
doing it for me. So I love that you bring this up. What are like myths that you're just sick and tired of hearing about with respect to like blood sugar and carbs and stuff?
One easy one off of this would be that low carb is the way. Because I've seen a lot of people, and as a nutrition nerd, let's be real, I've gone all the way to 30 carbs a day. I've gone up to 450 a day.
Yeah.
I need to know, and I had to do
Yes.
it
Yes.
for the people,
Totally.
right? So with low carb, I will say some people, amazing blood sugars. Some people, because there's so much fat and there's so few carbs, the protein will all break down and still raise their blood sugar, but then the fat will keep them stuck. So
Yes, that was me, by the way, because I had a history with prediabetes and I like first diet reverse and then medication, da da. But I tried to go zero carbs and I did worse actually. So
yeah,
that's when I was like, oh, this is not true. It's what you were saying. Yeah.
very common. And because the insulin resistance, again, fat is amazing. It has its role, but because the insulin resistance can get so high, then you just sit there. You might sit at 160, but we don't want you sitting at 160. We want you sitting at 110. So that would be a massive one, I'd say, from a myth perspective. Jokingly, on the flip side, I would say carbs are not a bad thing. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can do amazing with these things because you just have to know what to do with it. You have to know, okay, how am I prepping in advance? Whether you're type 1 or type 2. I mean, insulin, I would almost argue, is easier in some situations, but you want to have your big old piece of birthday cake. What are you going to do before? How are you going to raise your insulin sensitivity to make sure you can have it and not have it spike your number to the moon? How much of it are you going to have? How are you going to assess it? You have a game plan. You can eat literally anything if you're smart.
Okay, I kind of love this. So let's say that someone is going to a birthday party and they know I'm going to just use the term insulin resistance because I feel like it's like universally applicable to everyone that's listening to me. So let's say that they know they would not historically feel good with that, but like for cultural reasons and taste and things like that, they're going to want to have it. What are some things that you would recommend? What would a game plan be that someone, again, nothing's advice here, it's all informational, but what could be some things that they could think about?
I'll give a prime example because my birthday was 2 days ago. So
Happy
hey,
birthday.
thank you. And I'm not saying that as a shout out to me, but it's a very a real
Real.
example.
Yeah.
So I know, okay, I want cake, I want something fun, and I want to keep my number happy. So I'm definitely going to make sure, and I did this, right? Everything I'm about to tell you is what I did. I made sure I did a workout. I like resistance training. I like weightlifting, but I try to make sure that I'm doing a workout that's going to actually challenge me a little bit because I know with lifting, and especially if you were to train legs, for example, bigger muscle group, ideally bigger insulin sensitivity boost, and that will last for longer. So I know, okay, pair it with one of my best workouts, most intensive ones of the week. Maybe you're a runner. Maybe you're going to go for a long time on a run, like your long run or whatever. But I know I'm going to go a little more intense than normal. So that's already going to boost the insulin sensitivity. I'm also going to make sure that I still hit my other nutrition targets for the day. I'm still going to have my protein throughout the day. I might front load it a little bit more to have more fun in the afternoon, but I'm also someone I personally track calories and all that because I want to make sure I still stay on track. So I say, okay, I have an idea of what cake I'm going to have. I have a little bundt cake thing. They give you little circly ones. They're great. But regardless, I knew how much that was going to be from a carb perspective. So I said, okay, when am I going to have this? I'm not going to have it at 10 p.m. because that might spike me into the evening, but I'm also not going to have it at 7 a.m. when I'm most insulin resistant, obviously. So when am I going to have it? Ideally, sometime late afternoon, early evening. And then what am I going to eat beforehand? Am I going to have some protein? Absolutely. To make sure I steady things out. Am I going to have that fiber like we talked about? Absolutely. So I still can hit all my nutrition goals. I still make sure everything works. I'm still boosting insulin sensitivity. I've hit my step goal. I've made sure I've done all of the things that I know I need to do to keep my number happy.
Okay. You said a little comment, and I talk about this a lot, the being more insulin resistant in the morning. It was like a throwaway. You're like, of course I'm not going to have it right in the morning. Can you talk more about that with the times when we're more insulin sensitive?
Yes, morning is like, and I never understood as a kid because I'd be like, why is my number always so high and I don't have to do anything and my carb ratio is brutal? And it was just because we have more cortisol. The simplest
Yeah.
way, the cortisol is way higher in the morning. So because of that, our bodies are like, cool, you want carbs, great, but you're going to have to, in my case, take a lot more insulin in order to have the same thing, which you wait 4 or 5 hours. It's going to be a lot less insulin and a lot less difficult to keep your number in range.
Totally. I'm
So,
glad you talked about that because this dawn effect, people don't understand. It's physiologic. We have to get up. We have to start the day. The night is different than the morning and waking, but people don't realize that. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. I need to talk about this more. We're going to get your insulin sensitivity going more, and then we're going to do other things. It's nice the way you're phrasing it. I don't know. It's different than the way that I've talked about it before. It's a really good, I could see that landing for people.
me, I like the wiggle room aspect. I like to tell myself, okay, if I'm gonna have this crazy meal, like we're gonna go out to a massive dinner, which would be nice, right? I'm gonna go out to a massive dinner. I want to give myself the best chance of success possible. So I know if I can have the insulin sensitivity up and I know I have that wiggle room. So if it was really 90 grams of carbs, but I accidentally only put in 78, I might not have the biggest spike in the world versus, oh my God, I didn't nail it exactly. Now I'm going to 275.
100%. And I mean, you're probably someone, well, I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe you've never struggled with your weight, but I have, and I know a lot of my listeners have. And when you have cake on its own, you can go wild if you have like the genetics for it. But if you've already had some protein and fiber and you've been moving and stuff like that, and you're well hydrated, it's like your chance at not going insane with that item really goes through the roof and then not having tons more urges and cravings later. So I feel like it's a win on so many fronts. We can't underestimate how just a little bit of planning, how much more successful you can be long term with that.
Oh, 100%. And I feel like just having that extra little bit of, hey, I'm going to spend the 3 minutes now or the 3 minutes the night before to make sure I'm set up for success. People don't realize how that effect is just cumulative.
Yeah.
It's much easier. And then you're like, hey, I enjoyed everything. I got to do all the things I wanted to do. And I don't feel deprived or neglected. Cool. I spent 3 minutes versus people are like, oh, well, I wish I could have done that. But did you do the planning? No. Okay. Well, sorry, but I don't know what to tell you. You could have done it.
I like that you said 3 minutes because I think people over index that this is going to take an hour. And this
Yeah.
morning, I'll give you an example. I did my walk in the morning. I always go to this, I'm obsessed with this walking track. I come back, there was the grocery delivery in front of the door, literally 2 minutes to put the stuff away. I put the veggies in the oven, take the shower, I'm done. Literally, it was like it didn't even happen, right? But you had the fresh veggies for the day. I cut a few fruits for later. It takes 2 seconds, but it's like the strategy just needs to be there. The groceries come there, that you put it in as you're taking a shower. These things are not hard, but I think that people don't realize how quickly they can get into new routines.
Well, and I think again, it's making it into a bigger thing than it actually is. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a big deal unless you make it a big deal, and it's how you choose to perceive it. And only you get to decide that. I don't get to decide it for you. I'm like, oh, it took 3 minutes. Oh, that's so hard. Well, maybe try it and see before you poo-poo it per se.
Totally.
Which is,
Totally. I love that. So the other area I want to go to, I kind of do a hot seat here, right? Because I feel like it's so fun to get ideas from people. One question I have is if someone needs like a quick balanced snack, so I'm just going to infer it has protein and fiber, or might be implied to be healthy. What are some of your go-to recommendations? It can be anything, whether it's like actually meal-based or on-the-go stuff.
This is such a good question because there's so many things where I'm like, do I just pick out X, Y, and Z brand, or do I actually say this is something that I would like to do as a
Tell
snack?
us it all because we love to learn about different brands and stuff too. Because I'm always shouting out my favorites and I'm not paid by any of them.
There are certain ones I'm just like obsessed with and I love so
Yeah,
much.
let's
There's
talk about it. Tell me.
all right. So I would say snack things that are like grab and go, easy to nab
Yes.
things that are relatively, I would say, blood sugar friendly that check a lot of the boxes.
Yep.
One of them, and this is for the sweet fix, the legendary foods, Pop Tarts, the
Yes.
sweet rolls, they're
The cinnamon sweet roll one, I love that one. If you heat up in the microwave like 10 seconds, it's perfection, right? Yeah.
literal perfection. That is one of my all-time favorites. I love it so much. It makes me so happy. Crisp Power pretzels are a big fan of mine, and I'm a big fan of theirs because they have lots of protein. I think they're 6 carbs per serving. It's something super low. And pretzels are like historically the worst thing for your blood sugar.
Totally. Question, which flavor is your most favorite? Because I saw your video. I don't know if you were in GNC or where you were, and you
I
were
was
like talking.
in the vitamin shop one. Yeah,
Yeah. So what
that
flavor
cheddar
do you
one.
like?
Cheddar
The
one is
cheddar.
amazing. The
Okay.
everything flavor is my favorite though.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And they used to have massive bags at Costco, and it made me very happy. And they might bring them back, but you know Costco, they come and they go, and it
I
makes
know
me
I hate that. You start to love something and then they're gone. Okay, so that's amazing though, because I know people want these snacky foods, but I always say with pretzels, they're like a slider food. You have no idea you're eating it. You don't feel like you've had nothing, but the fact that those have like protein and stuff in them, I think that's awesome.
those I love for that reason because I never really liked pretzels as a kid. You have them a few times. You're like, cool, I went from 120 to 355. I don't want to have this anymore. Yay. Skinny dipped the peanut butter cups.
Oh,
Dark
I haven't.
chocolate peanut butter cups. My God. They're
Yeah.
I love those so much. They're like, I
Okay.
think 4 or 5 carbs per.
I've never tried them, but a patient of mine told me how good they are. And she literally, with each dinner at the end, has one. And it's worked out phenomenal for her because she just feels like she's having the sweet, but it's not getting in the way of her having results. When I hear multiple people talk about it, I'm like, okay, now I will go buy
Well,
it.
she's having one. I'm eating like 3 every day. It's kind of exhausting, but they're so good. Oh my. And the other thing is, I don't even like normal Reese's anymore because I'm just so used to those. And I also just think the dark chocolate to me is just, that's one of my other favorites. I'm just trying to think of like legit snacky types of things that get the craving done. Protein bars, you can find them. There's a ton of them
What
out
are your
there.
favorites? Because I feel like I go in and out of things.
One of my favorites is Rise Bar, and I really like them because specifically it's made with some of them have 3 ingredients, some of them have 5. But the reason I like that is again, when we were talking before about some of the sketchy fibers and stuff, I know there's none of that in there. I believe off the top of my head, it's almonds, honey, and the protein, and that might be it for one of them. So I'm like, okay, I know there's nothing shady in here. I know what it's going to do to my blood sugar. And these ones tend to have actual substance. Like some of the protein bars, you eat them, you're like, cool, I feel full for 5 minutes and I'm back to hungry. These ones actually have some oomph behind them, which I do appreciate.
You're bringing up so many brands that I don't know I've ever heard of Rise Bar. I'm gonna have to look that up because we always link to everything in the show notes. So if anyone's listening and you're like, oh, I want to check all this stuff out, rentiaclinic.com, RENTEA clinic.com, click on podcast, and we're gonna have all of this written out underneath. So I'm gonna have to look that up because I agree with you with the protein bars tend to have no hydration for me. I always have to pair it with an apple or pair it with something. Otherwise, I feel like it's air. It's kind of like white rice for me. It's like it didn't happen.
White rice, I feel like it's so unfulfilling. People are like, oh, you want to get sushi? I'm like, no, because I'm gonna be hungry in 5 minutes. It doesn't do anything. And so in this case, I like it because there's oomph behind it. Because I've had other bars where I eat it and I'm like, all right, that was cute. And then you move on. But
Yeah.
those would be some of my faves. Something else I like, and this is just a concept more than anything. I really like when you get one of the lower carb tortillas, which I still think spike me the same as a regular, but I digress. You get one of the tortillas with more fiber, and then you say, okay, whole wheat tortilla, whatever. You can throw on whatever your source of protein is that you like. Sometimes I'll do tuna. They have these little chicken pre-made things at Costco that I like. Chicken from your crock pot, whatever. You throw some cheese in there. You're basically making a little wrap. It takes literally 45 seconds, but you've got 35 grams of protein in 2 seconds.
Yes. I gotta tell you, those low carb tortillas, now you're saying it spikes your sugar the same. I just look at the fiber. I'm like, I'm doing good with these, but they're so versatile. It's like you can do peanut butter, the cheese, the meat. There's anything can go in it. Any meal can be stuck in that as far as I'm concerned, whether it's like sweet or salty, and it like transforms the delivery of it. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes if you have like a taco bowl versus like it's in a lettuce leaf, it's just tastes different, even though it's the same food, how you're doing it.
Like peanut butter and jelly in those, I'm not gonna lie, are banging. You get the lower carb jelly, you get the natural peanut butter, you put it in there. I'm like, this is so good. It's not supposed to be, but it is.
I
Like
know. Oh, that's
those,
amazing.
It's just my hypothesis with those. And again, it goes back to the fiber
Yeah,
thing
tell
we
me.
talked about before. I don't know what it was, but there was a time I'm like, oh, okay, it says it's 5 grams of net carbs. I'll dose for 5. And I started realizing, why do I always rise after these? So I started just saying, okay, let me start taking for the full amount. And then I was fine. Again, I don't know if that's just me. I might be an anomaly, but it's just an observation that I made. So I was like, maybe the world might want to know.
No, this is interesting. I wonder if the type of fiber isn't having the impact that, because I think people think all fiber is the same. And I have not experienced that with patients because you're telling me this about some kind of crappy fibers in some products. But have you found for some people when they're eating veggies, it's better like that? Chia seeds is better than if it's in a fiber wrap? Because I find people sometimes really do bad with the fiber wrap fiber, like what they're putting in there.
And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it because you look at the
No.
ingredient list and it's fine. I think the
Yeah.
bigger thing, like when I tell people for subtracting purposes, like we were talking about earlier, if it's from a natural source, if it's from a fruit, a veggie, chia seed, quinoa, whatever, subtract it for sure. The other stuff is where you have to debate, am I going to or am I not? Because there's a chance that it may still impact from a blood sugar standpoint.
Well, okay, now that we're on this front, just because with talking about sketchy fibers, what are your thoughts on, I'm literally looking at this as we're talking, on Olipop. I love the grape flavor. And I'm like, oh, it has 9 grams of fiber, again, like delusion in my mind. But what are your thoughts on those type of probiotic drinks that throw a fiber in there to try to make it sound like gut friendly? Do your people have it? Do you recommend it?
So the thing with Olipops, I've obviously heard of it. I've never actually drank it because I've always been kind of like, I don't really know. So I'm
Yeah.
pulling it up right now just to take a look. So I want to know what the source of the fiber is. Cassava, I know from a blood sugar standpoint, sometimes it sends people to the moon. Sometimes it works great. I think conceptually, it's fine. What they have in here, the inulin, right? The chicory root. I think it's all fine conceptually. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I look at something like this and I say, okay, allegedly it'll say 17 carbs, 9 fiber, 5 added sugar. Okay, how much of that fiber is actually getting subtracted? How much of it's actually getting absorbed? One could
Yeah,
argue it's technically 3.4 calories per gram for carbs, and you're still at 50 calories. If it was truly subtracted, it wouldn't be 50 calories. So
totally.
that's
Totally.
my sleuthness.
I like hearing your reasoning on it because I find that these type of drinks are frankly in addition to a meal that's fun. Like this is a fun category. And again, not anyone that thinks, "Oh, my health does better with it." Amazing for you, but I don't know that that's like a path I would set you on if I was trying to work on your health, right? That's more of you want a fun drink flavor. Maybe you're not getting some fake things that don't feel as good in your body or you're not going 100% into the juice category, but we're in a gray zone.
If you told me it was somebody drinks a regular Dr. Pepper or someone drinks that, yeah, 10 times out of 10, I'll have you slide over. But
100%.
I'm not trying to, on the flip side, be like, oh, let's have this as your fiber source. And we would prefer to have people look at it and say, hey, let's have you actually hit the meal first and then have this as the accessory instead of this is the main event. And then you have to deal with other stuff.
Totally, totally. I know this is off topic, but I've got you here. I'm just always curious people's thoughts on this. What about the non-nutritive sweeteners? Do you have any thoughts about raising blood sugar or not, or what do you typically see in your clients with that?
Such a good question. I only love this question because I did a deep dive into all of the big ones. I don't remember everything, but I can tell
Yeah.
you the top 3 ones that were beneficial and then everything else from there.
Yeah.
So allulose, far and away, number one, not even particularly
Okay, I was
close.
going to ask you about it because I was talking about it with my 30-30 group and I had done a deep dive and I had gotten it. I was like, this one's actually good for you.
Oh,
Okay, so I'm glad
allulose
we
is
agree.
amazing. Allulose is far and away. I know if we're gonna go brands and name favorites, like RX Sugar, by far my
Okay,
favorite.
awesome.
My
Awesome.
absolute fave. But with allulose in general, there's been research showing that for people with type 2, it can help their blood sugar. I've done experiments where I literally drank syrup that was made from allulose. It was a
Yeah.
pancake syrup, so it had the pancakey flavor, and then it was just allulose, nothing else. I put it in a measuring cup, drank it, sat there, and my blood sugar had been trending down and just kept going. It didn't stop, it didn't
Oh, I
change.
love that. I love this experiment. Okay, awesome. I
Oh,
love
I do
that.
that for all sorts of food because I'm like, I think a lot of the stuff's BS. So I just test it on myself and I do it just like that.
I still want to hear 2 and 3, but real quick, how would you describe the flavor of allulose? Because I feel like when I was trying to describe it to people, I'm like, it's not like stevia, and it's not like, oh my God, monk fruit is like, I don't like monk fruits. If you're going to say it's good, whatever, but I just don't enjoy it. How would you describe it?
I would say take regular sugar and just take it down a notch.
Okay, I love that because I actually agree with you on that. It's my point is I think it's very palatable. Like it does not
Oh,
have a weird after note or something like wacky happening. Okay, what's number 2 and 3? Because this is so interesting.
ironically, it was monk fruit was 2 and stevia was 3, which I don't particularly care for the taste of either one. But if they're in something, I'd rather have that be the sweetener source than fill in the blank of any of the
It's
other ones.
You know, what I find with these, I don't know if you experience this, but it's about the ratio. I really love the podcast, How This Was Built. And they had the founder of Lily's chocolate brand. And she on her own with the partner had tried for years to make the chocolate and it tasted horrible. And she ended up buying a formulation off of someone where they had the ratios correct. On their own, I will not do monk fruit or stevia. Stevia actually gives me headaches and stuff, but if it's in the right combo, it works. But I find most products can't get it right. And so that's why I'm very picky with which ones I choose with that.
Stevia on its own to me tastes absolutely horrifying. I want nothing to do with it. But when it's in something and it's like, oh, this is a 12th ingredient out of 14, yeah, I can tolerate it then. So
100%. This is totally off base, but I love the brand Devotion, their protein powder. And they had initially back in the day tried it with stevia because it was, oh, let's not use anything fake and da da da. And then, of course, it did not taste as good as when they used something different. So it's just interesting that you ultimately have to like what it is and stick with it. Do you remember any ones that were not good for blood sugar that they claim it's good, but
well, I wouldn't necessarily argue for the other ones that they're not necessarily good. Some will be like,
okay.
oh, it doesn't do anything. I will say any of the sugar alcohols from personal experience too will raise your blood sugar. It might not be a
Yeah.
ton, but they will go up. And they also, if you enjoyed sitting on the porcelain goddess, feel free to consume them. But yeah, not a fan on that front.
Give us an example of a few names of sugar alcohols because some people might be listening and they might not know when they're looking at a package that that's what it is.
Sorbitol, maltitol are usually the top two. Technically xylitol, but that's usually in gum, and gum's not going to have enough to really do anything to you. That one would be the least offensive of them all. But I'd say sorbitol and maltitol are always the two. Like you get a sugar-free syrup at the grocery store and you look and it's like immediately both of those.
Yeah.
Almost
Awesome.
everything. Anything that ends in ol is the fun sugar alcohols. But yeah, I jokingly would say saccharin exists. Do people even use it anymore? Probably not, or not as often. Naming all of them in my head, these are like the acesulfame potassium. No one even knows what that is.
Yeah.
Aspartame, all the soda stuff. It's not bad necessarily. People are like, oh, it can change your gut bacteria, which could theoretically impact your blood sugar. So
Yeah.
those are a lot of the downstream. Like if you were to drink 7 Diet Cokes, first you'll be wired as hell, most likely. But second, you're also not necessarily going to see an immediate impact in your blood sugar. If you do that for long enough, it can change effectively your gut health, your brain chemistry, and then you might see differences in your blood sugar. But also you might see
Yeah.
differences in eating behavior as a result of all the hedonic stuff, which is all the nerdy nutrition stuff that I wasn't doing in grad school and then stopped. So
I love that you brought that up, though. I always say the dose makes the poison. Do you follow Tim Spector's stuff at all from the UK, his gut microbiome and all that kind of stuff? But basically, some people with these sweeteners do get a reaction with insulin and blood sugar, and others don't. And so whenever people ask me, it's like, how do you feel on it? How does your gut feel afterward? What's your blood sugar doing? It's kind of complex. So people want this answer of yes or no. And I guess if I ask you that, I would assume your answer is let's not go all in on it, but if it's in some things, okay. I mean, is that what you would say?
yeah, for whatever reason, I'm blanking on what the Splenda one is. It's driving me nuts. Sucralose, duh. It was acesulfame potassium and sucralose. Yeah, sucralose.
Okay. Yeah.
Sucralose is it's fine. That's probably the next one on number 4. It's fine. Don't eat packets of Splenda and enjoy your life. Don't be like, yeah, Splenda time. But if it's in something, it's not going to be the end of the world. The key is, like you said, the dose makes the poison. All the studies that were like, oh, this one's terrible, were done like if you ate 10 pounds of it. Like you're not going to eat 10 pounds of it in one sitting. That would just be ridiculous. Don't eat 10 pounds of anything in one sitting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I love that. So switching gears here, because I want to make sure that I ask you all these things because I'm loving hearing the answers. What are your, like, you've made these things forever as far as like breakfast, lunch, dinners that do work with blood sugar, could work for someone with insulin resistance. What are your favorites?
Oh man. First, there's so many, but second, I'm like, what are the go-to goat options? I would say, and this is just me, and I know everyone's be like, oh, of course, but I just love eggs. You tell me any sort of omelet, any type of scramble, you throw veggies in there, you can throw more protein in there, you can throw sausage in there, right? Turkey sausage, whatever, cheese, whatever your heart desires. To me, that's usually a great go-to for on the go people. Hey, you want Greek yogurt, you want some peanut butter, you want some berries, you just checked all 3 boxes that we talked about before with the protein, the fiber, and the fruit. So
Yep.
those are a couple that are tried and true. On the breakfast side, lunches, the wrap we talked about before is always a great option. Of course, you could do a salad, you could do a bowl, and all these things could also technically apply for dinner. I like bowls because A, I'm lazy at cooking, and B, I know it's going to hit all the boxes because I get to see all the different things. We make my own Chipotle at home, and I know what's in it, and I don't have to worry about the portion size. So there's
Yeah.
plenty of ways to do that. Those would be, to me, my all-time favorites. There's a trillion recipes online if you go look for them. I'm also probably the world's laziest cook, even though I'm a dietitian. So
No, I'm the same way. I don't think big chefs are listening to my podcast because it has to be sort of modular when you make it. There can't be too much chopping. When people are like, it's so easy, just chop this onion and then do these other 50 things. I'm like, no, you left the land of easy a long time ago. Like easy is open it up, stick it in the pan. That is easy, right? So I like that you brought up things that aren't too heavy of a lift.
Oh, like the Instapot is my favorite thing, and the air fryer is my other favorite thing because I know I can throw something in there and I can come back in 30 minutes and it's good, but I didn't have to do anything. We had to learn all the cooking stuff in dietitian school, and I did it, and it was fine. I can do it, but just because I can doesn't mean I want to.
I'll never forget in medical school when everyone's always like, oh, we only get an hour. No, we got much more than that. But I still had to do a lot more training with nutrition. But they had a test kitchen in one of these clinics, which I thought that's pretty revolutionary. But they were making stuff that was so complicated. I was thinking, why are you not just showing how to boil an egg, how to do basic stuff? Why are you taking it to this land? I find sometimes people don't know the level that the people are that they're working with. And I find that they're not checking in. What do you like to do so that I can match that and not just give you like random recipes that might be way too hard for you?
And it makes me appreciate when you go to a restaurant and the level of complexity that is there because you're like, wow, this is awesome. But second, to your point, I'm always like, how can we meet people where they're at? Nobody's asking me for, hey, do you have a 90-minute prep recipe that I can make for my family on a random Thursday? Like, no one's asking for that. People are asking, well, how can I feed my kids in 15 minutes or less? So yeah, we're going to go load up on that stuff. And maybe you spend one day a week and do something ornate and you make 10 servings of it. And now you've got it for the next week.
Totally.
So
I love it so much. I remember back in the day, so I was in medical school and my sister had this blog, sweetfee.com, if anyone wants to check it out. And I was like, Felia, I can't do these recipes. I was like, can you do a 5-ingredient Friday? And so then she started a whole series. She made a whole cookbook based on it. And I was like, I was behind that because if it has more than 5 ingredients, I'm not making it. I love the simple things of the world. And you bring up eating out. And one thing I'm wondering, a lot of us are eating out, whether it's like fast casual, sit down, things like that. What is a simple way or two that someone could make a better choice without having to overthink it or be the weird one at the table?
the weird one at the table. If you're gonna be the weird one, just own it, first of all.
Oh, no, I'm about being weird, but some people are a little self-conscious about doing things differently.
I think the first thing, to your point, though, and to that same level, if I need something specific, I don't care. There have been times when my cousin will give me hell. He's a hospitalist up in Boston area, and he drives me nuts because every time he's like, are you going to order a side of chicken with everything? Because I'm like, if there's not enough protein and I need protein, I'm going to order a side of chicken. And so he'll call me up and be like, so where'd you go for breakfast? I'll tell him, he's like, did you order a side of chicken? I'm like, of course I did. Again, I don't care, but own it if you're going to do it. And that makes it more fun. But either way, things would be, in my mind, for the 3 boxes we talked about before. If you can look at a meal or look at a thing on a menu and say, I can identify where that protein source is, where that fiber source is, and if I'm getting a veggie or fruit at a minimum, at that point, I'm not going to say I don't care what else you eat, but at least I know you have checked the boxes that you need to check. And then if you want to go have bacon, mac and cheese, pay attention to the portion size, figure out the carbs, figure out what you need to know, and the fat and the protein that hit you hours after. But at the same time, don't just deprive yourself because it's probably a special occasion. If it's, hey, I'm going out to eat every day, different conversation. But
Totally. I love that you bring that up. Yeah, because I found eating out got easier with that. The other day I had it was a veggie quesadilla, but the protein wasn't high enough, right? So then I got something else, to your point. Is there something that you do personally every day that keeps your blood sugar really stable?
that's a good question. I like to get a lot of
Everything.
over the last like 5-ish years, I started actually paying attention to the step count because I never thought you hear, oh, get 10,000 steps. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. I'll get steps. I didn't pay attention till when it was suddenly COVID and like we weren't going anywhere. And I was like, wow, I'm getting like 3,000 steps and I just feel disgusting. And so I got to a point where I realized I'm like, I should probably be more intentional about being active and I'm sure it'll help my number. And so then I started effectively for myself setting a minimum bar of steps, which for me is 7,500. Everybody's different. So I know if I get at least this many steps, my blood sugar will be in a better spot from an insulin sensitivity standpoint because my body is just accustomed to getting that. So it's been to a point where I don't do this as an experiment, it just kind of happened. I've had a few days where it's 6 p.m. I've had 1,800 steps. I'm not even close. And my blood sugar is just stubbornly high. And I start getting steps in and it just drifts right back to where it should be. And I realize the steps really do matter. So that would be something I think that some pay attention to. Some are lunatics like me and I have a streak now and I can't break my streak. So it's all that. But, at the same time, it's something where if you pay attention to little stuff like that, I think that makes a world of a difference. Because even if you don't work out that day and it's just your chill day, your body's getting something, your insulin sensitivity stays happy. And that's diabetes or not. But I think diabetes is even more important.
I like that you bring this up. It's kind of like, where do you get the most bang for your buck? Because people think it's like doing all these things. If you really think about it, if I were to think about my day, it's like getting the walk in the morning, hydrating throughout the day, and getting a protein heavy morning, my whole day is going to be good. I don't even need to worry about it, right? But if I were to think like every single thing all the time, it just makes you think like you're not going to win. And I like the step count too. I'm not about the streaks just because if I get sick or this or that. But now, do you use Apple Watch? Is that what you're?
Oh no, I don't have it because everyone's like, oh, you can put your Dexcom on your Apple Watch. And I'm like, cool, another thing to ping and annoy the crap out of me. So I literally, this is so bad. I have this thing on my phone. It's literally called pedometer, and it
Oh,
just
I
tells
love
how many
that.
steps you have. It's so awkward.
That's the app that I have for my Apple thing so that it shows up on the face. That's
That's
literally
even
the
better than
app.
so I have the correct app on the wrong device. So I don't know because I'm like, I don't want to wear more stuff. I already got my pump, I already got my CGM. I don't want more stuff in my body. I'm good.
I love
But
it.
yeah, that's what I do. I think it helps just because I know, okay, at baseline that helps. The other thing I know you mentioned hydration. That's another huge thing for me, especially on the electrolyte side. But sleep. I always tell people sleep is the X factor no one pays attention to, but it can impact your blood sugar so much.
Totally. Yeah. I think people just get so distracted by life. We're just in a digital tech age and people like to relax with it. And then the next thing you know, sleep is suffering. I'm glad that you brought that one up. If you could tell someone one thing, maybe to stop stressing about when it comes to food or blood sugar, what would that be? Like one thing that they could just let go of?
Well, I think one easy thing would be don't expect to be in range 100% of the time because you're not going to be. And quite frankly, I'd rather you be 85% or 80% time in range and have a life and enjoy your life than have that person be, hey guys, I was 99% in range today. No one cares. Your life becomes your diabetes. You can't have your life become your diabetes. Your life has to be your life. And diabetes is just this thing that's there that you deal with on the back burner and you deal with it, you move on.
I find with any chronic illness, it's such a heavy mental load. And if you can't find a way to just normalize it, make things easy, move on, make other things of more importance, because I think it's actually sad when we become someone that I'll just talk about from a weight standpoint, when people are like all about fat loss, what the scale's doing, that's all they ever care about. That's actually very boring. That should not be your whole personality. We need to build out your life, to be honest, if that's what's happening. And so to your point, we have to move past it. It like defines us because I think there are a lot more interesting things about all of us. So this has been a super fun conversation. How can people find you? Where do you hang out? Tell us a little bit about where you are on social, your website, and then also about your practice. What does it entail? Just tell us all of it so people know what you offer.
So for all of the things, so social media, it would just be TikTok, Instagram at Man of Zeal. I may switch it to Your Diabetes Insider soon just to keep everything consistent and stop confusing people. But for now, it's Man of Zeal because it sounds cool. But then website be yourdiabetesinsider.com. And effectively, our practice, we're all dietitians. We all live with diabetes ourselves or have 30 plus years in the field. So we all get it personally and professionally. We all have exercise backgrounds. And ultimately, if you are listening to this and you want to enjoy food, you want to have amazing blood sugars, you want to become stronger than ever, if you may want to lose weight, build muscle, whatever you want to do, and just live without any restrictions with your diabetes, type 1, type 2, gestational pre, we are here for it and we're happy to be in your corner and help out.
I don't know why I didn't think I was looking at your website and stuff. I didn't realize that you guys do gestational. We got to scream that from the rooftops. I'm telling you, there's no one's doing it well. No one. So if you're like getting patients for that now, you're like, I didn't know that would happen. So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
I think the big thing is then pregnancy. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, it's so scary. And we could have a whole episode just on that alone. But at the end of the day, especially if someone's on insulin, we know the principles for people who are type 1 that have to have great blood sugars during pregnancy. Same game, just ideally it goes away at the end.
I should bring you back. We should do an episode on that because again, I don't know why. I just think it's such a gap. And I do have a lot of young women that listen to me as well. Okay, we're definitely going to bring you back for that. So we will make sure everybody listening, we're going to have all of his information either underneath where you're listening, where the show notes are, or again, you go to rentiaclinic.com and we have long blog. I had someone say the other day that's really in my world. She said, oh, I had no idea on your website that everything is all written out and how much there's there. So it's like everything we talked about, there were so many gems. We'll make sure to link to it. Just thanks again for taking the time to be with us today.
I'm just so grateful to be here. This was a lot of fun. I feel like I do some episodes. I'm like, yeah, that was cool. This one was fun. I enjoyed this flew. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. We'll bring you back soon. And if you guys have questions listening, make sure to email me because when we bring him back, I'll make sure to ask him.
Let's go.
Awesome. That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about, because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening. And you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend. I'm listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.